Hello. God bless you for being with us again. Of course, today I'd like to speak to you about upcoming Ash Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. Um, First of all, enjoy your punchki on Tuesday. Those wonderful jelly donuts. I think a small one is 750 calories. Oh, my word. I have to spend the next 3 weeks of Lent just getting over uh, Punchki Tuesday. Um, but we certainly want to invite you to come to our masses on Ash Wednesday. We'll have mass at 12:15, and we'll have another one in the evening at 7 o'clock. I'll have both of those. Uh, so please do come, and we are going to. For people who need to minister to somebody homebound for the ashes or somebody that could not make it, we'll have those little plastic cups for you to take some of the ashes home. Okay? And the prayer is simple. Remember, you are dust, and to dust you shall return. Uh, a lady had asked me several months ago, a lady in the parish, about cremation. And of course, Ash Wednesday really brings up the whole subject of dying and death and burial tradition now that's become pretty strong, and that is cremation. Once upon a time, as most of us knew or remember, we did not allow cremation in the Catholic Church because it was tantamount to saying that we believed that there was no life beyond death. And I think that was that was our fear, because there were major cultures in the world that by their faith, which believed in a whole different thing than we do in life beyond death, uh, they were tolerating and encouraging cremation. So the church did not want to step into that arena until recent years, maybe the last 30, 40 years, when one, ecologically, environmentally, it's getting more and more sound to cremate. And then secondly, there is not that fear any longer of through cremation virtually saying that we believe in no life beyond death. We're not saying that at all. As a matter of fact, some states, Florida, for instance, the funeral directors there have told me well over 90% of their funerals now are cremations. So, and I think it's starting to get that way in other states. I'm not sure what the count is here exactly, but I know it's getting to be more and more the tradition. Um, some people cite a lesser cost thing and so on, whatever. But yes, we may, according to the Roman Catholic Church, certainly cremate now. And when we do it, the question of burial is important, though. People like to do some strange things now that they know we can, cremate. And I say strange when you have, I one funeral all of a sudden appeared on the offertory table for the funeral. I had 5 lockets in gold chains. Well, come to find out, in each locket was some of Dad's ashes. Well, no, the church doesn't agree to that at all. That kind of, jewelry treatment of ashes. Doesn't agree that the church says that we should bury the ashes, all of them, in one place. The burial at sea is only for emergency cases. Uh, I don't have to give you examples, but we're not supposed to choose, a high mountain where you can blow the ashes off to all four corners of the world, or a body of water where the ashes will go everywhere. One location for those ashes. So I've given you the discipline, and Ash Wednesday then, of course, brings us to that very sober recognizing of an end to life this side of heaven. Remember, the prayer is as we anoint you at the end of Mass or in the middle of Mass, remember you are dust, and to dust you shall return. There is a second prayer that might be said, remember we are sinners, repent and be saved. So that can be used also. But I still like the ashes, and I really like people with very bald heads to come to me for the ashes. Don't wear white on Ash Wednesday. I would think people like a white blouse or a white dress shirt or white anything, anything that's very light colored, because no matter how careful we might be with the ashes, and I'm one that's not too careful, but the ashes will somehow escape and fall on you. So come dressed in black, I guess, or dark blue. Okay? So we look forward to seeing you on Ash Wednesday and encourage you to get your Lent started on the right foot. Actually, Ash Wednesday through Thursday, Friday, early Saturday is the prelude to Lent, beginning with the first Sunday of Lent. But if you're going to take on the fasting and the abstaining, Ash Wednesday certainly is a day for fasting and abstaining, and the Fridays of Lent um, are all for abstaining from meat after 7 years old. I believe it is until you're 65. And then the fasting from food is for all of us the fasting from meat is for all people, all ages, 7 through the end. The abstaining from food is for those of us who are adults until we're 65. And the abstaining is a must on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, but the other Fridays of Lent are certainly good for the abstaining. And the abstaining means that the 2 meals of your day should not equal the one main meal. So, and of course, no eating in between meals on the total abstinence days. Those are only several days of Lent. You might want to take on the fasting much more strictly than that for yourself. I would invite you to consider that within the next 2 weeks, well, actually March 12, 13, and 14, the evening, Father Collins, formerly of our parish, is going to conduct us through a Lenten retreat. So please put that on your book, 7 o'clock those 3 nights, 12, 13, and 14. And by the way, for those of you who miss Pam, she'll be here the first one of those 3 nights for the music on March 12th, okay? So come ready to sing your hearts in praise of the Lord and to begin Lent together. Well, we will have been 2 weeks into Lent by that time. I got to close with a story. It has some humor to it, but it is a real one, returning to the ashes. A funeral director friend of mine told me a couple of years ago, at that time, the only really crematorium that we had available, and that was longer than a couple of years ago, was at Whitechapel in Troy Cemetery. And he said a woman called the funeral home late in the evening from a local hospital here. And she said, my husband just died. Can you come and pick him up? And they said, well, yes, of course, we'll do that. And then they said, we'll work, we'll embalm him tomorrow. She said, no, I just want you to take him directly to Whitechapel and cremate him there, if you would. And they said, okay. She said, I will meet you at the chapel, uh, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And they said, fine. And they thought this is just a little different, but still quite loving and attentive of her. She met them there, the hearse and the body, and she said, may I help you carry the casket downstairs to the crematorium? And the funeral director said, well, certainly, which she did. And then they proceeded to place the casket in the furnace, and there's a window on the furnace. So she asked, how does this all work? I mean, she's trying to get the skinny on the whole deal. And they told her about the flames that come out all the way down in 2,600 degrees of heat. And how long does this take? She said, well, they said it depends upon the weight of the body, but it can take anywhere from half an hour to longer. So they had closed the furnace door, and she's looking in there through the window, and she said, how does this start? They thought this was all, of course, far beyond curious, and they pointed to the buttons on the side, and she said, may I press the button? Now, they said, okay. Funeral homes will try to accommodate you almost in any way they can. She pressed the button, out came the flames. Now I'll use, of course, guarded language, but she looks through the window and she says, burn, you son of a gun, burn. And all along, up to that point, they'd all thought she was so caring and loving and concerned. And she backs up against the window of the furnace and faces the funeral directors and says, she said, I know it's early, but now I want to know, where can I get a stiff drink? She's going to the bar to celebrate. That is not what cremation is intended for, just to let you know. Um, any form of decent burial is certainly a loving gesture to be made. We would want such for ourselves, and so whether we are at issue with the deceased or not, we also render that service lovingly. There was something else I was going to ask you about that. Anyway, I'll tell you more later. Okay, but we enter Lent remembering indeed we are dust, and that poor guy's dust. If the lady had anything to do about it, I don't know. She'd probably take him to the garbage dump, but she wouldn't have that freedom. There are state laws regarding these burial customs. Anyway, have a good Ash Wednesday.